Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. I hope you've been having a good fall so far. It's been pretty good around here. We went for a drive to do those pick your own apple things yesterday with our son and his girlfriend, and the colors were starting to look pretty darn good. So I think in a couple of days we'll have the autumn colors that we're famous for. Today is kind of a quiet day book-wise. I didn't get a whole lot accomplished. Well, in a way, I got a whole lot accomplished. It just wasn't the normal kind of productivity. I did not finish a couple of books, so I guess that's accomplishment of sorts. So the first book I didn't finish was Dragon Pearl by Yoon Lee. Now this came recommended through, it just went out of my head, Dragonathon. I think it was Sophie Reads, and so I'll connect her vlog at the bottom of the doobly-doo, but I was sure this was going to be right up my alley. It's a really independent kind of character. It's a world that I haven't seen before. It's a universe where there's a lot of interplanetary interactions, and this is a planet that's kind of off in the galaxy, not too populated and not too developed, and there's something called the Dragon Pearl that has been missing for a few generations, and the main character's brother has gone looking. We think that he's gone looking for it, but we're not sure. He's in the army, and they think he has deserted or has gone looking for the pearl or what have you, and it's kind of uncharacteristic of him. So the character Min, our main character, makes an impulsive decision to go and find her brother. So like from the first two chapters, I just couldn't buy into Min. She was impulsive. She made decisions that were harmful to her family, which any kid of around, I think she's 13, 14, like I'm not quite 100% sure. You'd just be a bit more sensible if there was a bunch of soldiers knocking on your door looking for your brother. I don't think you would be quite so impulsive. I think you'd be a bit more, in the background trying to get the feel of things. Anyway, she starts to make a lot of impulsive decisions that are harmful to her, harmful to others in the first 20 pages. And I just thought, this is like the kind of unreliable narrator where I don't have any sympathy for her right off the bat. So the other thing about Min that could have been interesting is she's sort of she's a being. She takes the human form, but she doesn't need to be in the human form. Her natural form is, I guess, a fox, that's an animal I'm quite interested in. And as you become more mature, you have more tails, but you can assume animate and inanimate objects. And this is how she starts to get herself into trouble, is by revealing the secret of what she can do. And the people who can do this, go in and out of shapes, are on the verge of being outlawed in this universe. So she's like gives up the whole family in one. Anyways, did not finish. I don't think it even took two chapters for me to go blocky, which is too bad because I love a dragon, but we never even saw the dragon. I don't think we were going to. So now time to shut up and move on. The other book I did not finish, to no one's surprise, was The Stolen Bicycle by Woo Ming Yi. It is just a beautiful book. The writing is just so gorgeous, but it moves along at such a snail's pace. I think it's 6 months that I have either been trying to read it, have been reading it, or trying to return to reading it. It's just, I can't get there. I just keep trying and trying. And I think I've got maybe less than a quarter of the book to go, and I just don't care. So I kept giving it a shot, and nope, didn't work. So I don't know, maybe in a really, really bad blizzard, I might pick it up and finish it, but it's going to go on the bookshelf. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm going to bring it to my book exchange every Christmas. One of my gangs, we get together and we bring the books that we've purchased over the course of the year, and we swap them all up. And I'm pretty sure there's someone in the group there who will really love this, but not for me. But I gave it an honest shot. I think 6 months is a good honest shot. The next book that I did read, I spoke about in the last video, was Books of Umbra the character is Happenstance, and it's just a light science fiction fantasy book. Sometimes I don't see the difference between fantasy and science fiction, but this is another world. It may be parallel to our world. The character Umbra comes from our world. There's been a catastrophe. He has somehow, through the computer that he has been working through to gather all of the universe's knowledge, has somehow delivered him to this new world that has no computer knowledge, anything to do with binary math, any of those kinds of things that have to do with computers. It just hasn't got that kind of knowledge. So Umbra has arrived in this new world. So we don't enter the story at that point. That's his backstory. We enter the story when Umbra has discovered or Happenstance is his real name. And Happenstance may or may not be human. We don't really know until we get to the end of the book. That's part of one of the questions. Where has he come from? Why has he been where he was discovered? There's a whole lot of backstory to Happenstance that we are gradually picking up. There's supported characters that have pretty interesting backstories as well. The world that Umbra has created in terms of his domicile is kind of interesting. There's some very cool characters that are the housekeeper, someone who lives in the walls. There's just a lot of interesting characters like that. This is kind of like watching it's kind of like watching Friends in a way. There's a whole bunch of characters who are doing their own thing, and yet they come together through being friends of Umbra. And Umbra, I'm still not 100% sure what his goal is. I don't know whether he's trying to get back to his world or whether he's trying to achieve the knowledge that will fix his world when he returns. It's like his motivation is not clear. But it's okay. He's a really energetic character. He's a risk taker. He's just kind of a duck, water coming off his back sort of thing. If something goes wrong, it's like, okay, we can find another solution. So he's quite a charming character. And Hap is a very naive, underdeveloped 14 or 15-year-old. We're not sure. But as the story progresses, his powers and his abilities become just a little more clear, but it's parsed out, so we don't get a full picture of Happenstance. Even by the end of the book, we know that we've been given enough information that we know there's more to come in terms of his development. And there are 2 more books in the series. I think I'm going to follow through. I'm not going to rush to follow through on getting the other 2 books, because I do have quite a surroundings of books I want to follow, but this I'll put a little asterisk in it in my notebook and follow through in the spring maybe and get book 2. But I enjoyed it. If you're looking for something light and already published as a trilogy, then I think this is a good one. Oh, and the evil character. Whoa, the evil character is brilliant. He's kind of an unrelenting creature you would imagine encountering a Jules Verne's Under the Sea, just not quite real, just kind of extra and uber, and yeah, very, very cool. So let's see, one of the things we encountered this week was at Sophie Blogs, and she was asked a fellowship tag, and the fellowship tag is something that someone else had created, and she was given 10 questions to answer that were book related. And one of the questions, what's a book on your to be read pile that you've been to read for a long time? And you don't actually have to have a physical pile for that. So my husband and I were just answering the questions just as we were watching the baseball game and our team lose. And so one of the questions, what is one of the books you would really like to read that you haven't so far? So my husband answered, and he came up with this book. And while we were on the apple hunt, we stopped into our favorite used bookstore. And this is a bookstore that's very, very curated. There's no junk in there. You don't get a bargain in this bookstore, but it has just an amazing selection of stuff, old and new. So Steve found the Saga of the Icelanders, with a preface by Jane Smiley. I'm not sure who the editor is. Yeah, it's just a selection, and it's by Viking Press. And I get, oh, the editor is Ornolfur Thorson. So it's huge, and the print is small. And the other question they asked was, what's your biggest book on your list of books to be read? And this one counts for 2. It's just, man, it's like even heavy to hold. This is his winter reading, I think. Once the fire starts going, he's gonna open this up with a scotch, and he's just gonna have a fun old time. I wasn't really on the hunt for anything. I just, on the corner of the shelf, I saw W.P. Kinsella, who I really enjoyed when I was in my 20s. And these are the Silas stories, the Fence Post Chronicles, Miss Hobima Pageant, and Brother Frank's Gospel Hour. And W.P. Consella is a white American who has written about this Indian reservation, and for some reason he hasn't been given a lot of flack about that, or I haven't seen anything, but I think I don't know, it just seemed to work. He seemed to find the voice of the people that he has drawn, and nobody has called him on it. I really don't know what the backstory is there that worked out. He's doesn't pretend to be Native Indian, and maybe because he went in honestly, and it'd be interesting to find out a biography of Kinsella. But he was, because I'm not sure if he's still alive, a recluse. So I think that also helped, that he wasn't trying to live off the backs of the people that he wrote about. Well, that's not a true statement, is it? Yeah, well, all right. Let's not think about that. Let's just go forward. The characters are pretty interesting. This is a reread for me, because one of the questions Sophie asked is, what is a book that you would like to reread? And this has been on my mind for a little while as a book I'd like to reread. So these are 3 standalone books. I think you can read them in any order. You don't have to know the chronology of one to get to the other. And it also is kind of the thickest one on my pile, although, yeah, this is another one. Well, they're about the same. Yeah, this one's bigger. This one's also pretty big. The Long Ships, Steve read this one, and I'll talk about it at another time. He said it was pretty good. For all that it's about Vikings and sagas, it's supposed to be a pretty light read. Well, that's it in terms of like actual decision making. Then we have our daughter coming in about 10 days, if she can get here, and we have to go into family quarantine for 14 days. And I do have a fair amount of books, and there's some waiting at the library, but I thought, what if she does give us COVID? Then I have to be locked down for more than 14 days. My girlfriend has an extensive library, so I buzzed in there this morning, and I picked up 4 that some of them are, okay. So Laurie R. King, The Beekeeper's Apprentice, is going to be a reread of a series for me. This is where Sherlock Holmes, now how does that work? He's more or less retired, and he meets this Mary Russell, who's a modern 15-year-old, and her mental acuity is equal to his own. Well, yes, that's a very possible thing. And she becomes sort of his ward, sort of his student in a way, and they end up solving some kind of a mystery. And I remember really enjoying it the first time, and I think there's about 5 books in this series, so I thought this might be a fun one to do for the winter. Then Margery Allingham, 2 Stories of Suspense. And I know her as the author. I know she's got a pretty interesting protagonist that she's done a series for, but these are 2 novelettes that aren't about that detective. So I just thought this would be a fun one for, I don't know, just, filling in the blanks, I guess. This is completely new to me. Louis Desoto, A Blade of Grass. And this takes place between South Africa and an unnamed country. And the 2 characters are Merritt Lawrence and her maid, Tamba, I think? Yes. Anyways, Merritt has come to this South African farm, really not knowing what she's going to encounter. And it's a time of societal unrest and violence and so forth. And so it's sort of, I guess it's not really an adventure. I guess it's a drama. and we'll see. It's about a relationship to the land and to each other and to the people around them. So I'm hoping. And the last one I picked up, I love Pearl-esque Buck. I haven't read everything, and this is Mandala, and the main character is Jagat. He is a former Maharana of Arampur, and he's looking to modernize his family. So he's constructed a how things are going to go forward scenario. So he sets the wheels in motion for that to happen, and of course nobody complies because I guess he either didn't communicate it or they've got a better idea. And so this is sort of that transitional type of story where he's hoping for one kind of modernization, and by having let the bull loose in the china shop, all kinds of other things happen. I don't think it's meant to be a comedy, but I might end up reading it as a comedy because it's just a lot of hubris, isn't there, in that one. The last thing I have to talk about is one that I am looking forward to. This is for my Woozles book club, which I will be talking about, and it's Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. And it's by Benjamin L. Alir Sayens, possibly that's the pronunciation. I think I've read it before, and I'm not going to talk about it too much right now because it's for book club and I want to see what the gang says about it. This is a Zoom book club, and I think there's potentially about 20 of us, so the Zoom chat can be pretty crazy. I didn't participate over the summer because we didn't have internet connection, so kind of missed out on the protocols that they've developed. So I think they've had to rein in the craziness of people talking. So I think there's a few polite mannerisms that we're supposed to have figured out by now. Anyways, that will be on Tuesday, I think, so I'll be able to get back to you soon around that. That's it. The rest are all things that are, conversations to come. I hope that your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true. It doesn't have to be in a book. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.